I think he gathered up 10,000 troops. I said, no, you got too many people.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when he said, take them all down to the water, and depending on how they drink the water, he said, that's who you use. He said, the ones that pick it up in their hand and drink, he said, that's who you use.
Mm-hmm.
But some of them stuck their head down in the water because they're not looking around. He said, the ones that picked it up in their hand, he said, that's who you, he had 300.
Mm-hmm.
He said, now that's your army. He said, but there's one more thing I want you to do before you go out and fight. He goes, what's that? Don't take no weapons. He said, take like a water jar. I think it was a water jar and a torch.
Yeah.
For each soldier. So you want me to go fight these people, 300 people, with no weapons, with a torch and a clay jar. So that's it. And they won.
And they won.
And they won.
Yeah. We think we have to have all like the weapons and all I think that's what I was trying to get to in this is like, I feel like I have this vision I have this feeling that we have to do something or be something and to achieve what I see like God calling us to do. But I think what he's really saying is just steady the course. Like just keep going. That's it. I feel like we say that a lot though on this podcast. I feel like we say that what he's saying is the Galatians scripture, don't grow weary in doing good.
Mm-hmm.
I press on towards the prize. I used that this week too in the sermon because I feel like he keeps saying that. Just keep going. Just keep going.
So when are you going to listen to it?
Yeah, well, I know. That's the question. That's the like they said back here, either you're going to be a part or you're not going to be a part, but it's going to happen.
You're going to eat the guy or you're not going to eat him. Are you going to eat him or not?
Yeah. That is true.
But again, it's hard. It takes time.
It's just a journey. And I figured, I guess I thought maybe 17 years into the journey, I would be more mature or more better than I am.
He probably thought the same thing.
He's looking at me going,
he's like,
dude, we're 17 years into
maybe you need another 17.
And maybe, because then I would be 60, and I feel like a lot of 60-year-olds got it figured out. You know, we're young. I don't even feel like I'm young, but I think some 60-year-olds will look at us and say, if you're 44, you don't know anything.
That'll be fine with me, sir.
Yeah. All right, let's jump in.
Reformation time.
Maybe. Welcome to MZBC, the podcast for September the 29th, 2021.
I think it is
almost
September.
October. It's getting to be
So you say October, I'm thinking fourth quarter.
Fourth quarter of the year?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm thinking fourth quarter. Football, when you say fourth quarter, I don't
I'm
think
on
about the year.
Side. I'm on the side that makes some money.
Not,
Football costs money.
Football players are allowed to make money now.
Are they?
Yeah, they just signed that deal this year. That
NIL. But then again, I'm looking. You're in the audience. You're not in the game, though.
Yeah. Well, the players' name, image, and likeness. As long as if anybody wants to put their name on something or whatever, then the players can get the money. Mm-hmm. Never was like that before. So when you say fourth quarter, I think football.
Yeah.
When you're a money man like you out there hustling and making it happen, you think quarter.
Taxes.
So it's been about 3 weeks since we've been together.
I've missed it.
Yeah, it has. We tried to connect last week when we were both on vacation, but the internet in both of our locations was struggling.
I was looking so forward to looking. I was like, I was assuming you would be in the hotel room.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Mickey or somebody on the wall, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to go down there on the riverbank right beside the Hiwassee River and have the river in the background.
That would have been nice.
It was nice.
We were staying, so we were at Disney and you were at the river. We were staying at something called the Wilderness Lodge. And so it's like decorated back in the day, wilderness time. And so in the lobby, the big chandeliers have like tents and stuff on. So that's probably where I was going to try to post up.
That'd been nice.
It would have been really cool.
I was thinking y'all were were y'all in the park?
I guess what they call it is you stay on location or you stay in
a park or a resort. What do they call it?
It's a resort where you stay, but the park's like 10 minutes away. and some of them are like 15 minutes away. There's different parks, and so the one we were the closest to was probably Animal Kingdom. I think it was like right across the street, and it's got the most ridiculous ride there.
In the city, right up the road here. You didn't have to go to
Well,
Florida
that's
to get to
Magic
Animal
City.
Kingdom.
Oh, Animal Kingdom. Yeah,
It's getting crazy out here,
that's
dude.
pretty wild, but
It's getting wild out here.
so we were there, and then I was really hoping that we could have done it the second week because we were staying at the Polynesian, and it's a Hawaiian themed resort.
I think of Chick-fil-A sauce when I hear that.
Polynesian sauce.
Levi calls it sticky sauce.
Calls it what?
Sticky sauce.
Sticky sauce. So we were there, and it was awesome. I was telling people this week because the gentleman that spoke this week, Tony, you know Tony Andrews, he preached this week because I was on my way back, and he's preached on sharing the gospel, like it's part of the call, and we know that part of the call is living your life in such a way that you can tell someone else about your faith. And I was just thinking when I was at Disney, just watching all these people just in and out, spending money like crazy.
Was there a lot of people there?
It was a lot of people. I think it's busier at different times of the year, but there was a lot of people. But I was just trying, how do you interject the gospel into all this? Like, these people are totally not focused on me talking to them about anything God. And I really wasn't trying to. I was just thinking, that's the call, though. Like, at some point, God calls us to interact with people and do things. And I don't know, maybe vacation is not the time to be trying to be evangelical, like just spread the gospel. But it was just interesting how I was thinking, there's no way that I can get a conversation going with any of these people or anybody that they want to hear anything about the gospel. They're so focused on themselves. And I guess we were too. We had an agenda every day. We had a plan every day. We knew what we were doing. And if someone random would have came up talking to me about something I didn't believe in or something I didn't know about, I would have probably brushed them off too. I don't know. It was just an interesting thought. Like, how did God calls us to do this, but doing it is really hard. Like, because around here, I mean, I'm the pastor and you're a life group teacher. So if we have those conversations, it's kind of expected. Like that's what we do. But in that kind of situation, I'm not good at that. I mean,
so you were kind of Jonah then.
A little bit.
It's like, I'm not talking to these people.
I'm not. Well, they don't want to hear me.
I mean, it's Jonah, right?
Well, Jonah he thought they were dirty, rotten people, right? He's like, those people aren't worth me going to talk to. And I wasn't looking at these people.
I'm not going to talk to these people.
Yeah. And I don't know.
So you didn't want to talk to them?
Well, I didn't. It's not, okay, maybe a little, but it wasn't like
not
that.
saying that you thought they were dirt bags.
Right. But I wasn't trying to not talk to them. It was just like.
So did you talk to any of them?
I didn't talk to one person. I didn't talk to one single person. I mean, I said hi on the elevator. I might have waved at a couple of people who worked there through the park, but nah, it wasn't on my. So I guess I'm just as guilty as them. They didn't want to hear. I didn't want to share. And it was like, so coming back on Sunday and Tony sharing that message, a little convicting because I was like, there was 1 million people there, and I didn't have one opportunity to say,
you want a big congregation. There it was.
Yeah, it was there. So
says
even the pastor,
the harvest the fields are ripe, the harvest is ripe.
The harvest is plentiful.
Yep.
Pray for the Lord of the harvest to send the workers.
Happens to everybody. Like, man, I had all them opportunities and I didn't take one of them.
Yeah. So I've been around people that are really good at that. That I've seen them. It doesn't matter the situation; they can just share.
Yep.
Pastor Chris was really good at that. We would be at a restaurant, eating dinner, eating lunch, whatever, and he would immediately start up a conversation with the people about, hey, what's your name? Da 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 da. Where do you worship? Da da. And before you know it, he had invited them to church, knew if they were saved or not, and all this. God builds us all different, and that's not my thing. I guess I'm not a conversationalist. I can talk to anyone. I don't like initiating conversations with random people I don't know. And I don't know if that's a good quality for a pastor to have or not.
Probably not.
But I've never claimed to be a good pastor. I've just claimed to be an obedient person. And so that's all I'm trying to do. Right?
Sounds good. Had one incident when we were out of town. I had a T-shirt on. We actually rode up to Cherokee one day because we were only about an hour from Cherokee where we were staying. We rode up there, and me and Levi had come out of the bathroom, and there was a woman there, and I could tell she was reading my shirt. And it says, if you were ever convicted of being a Christian, would there be enough evidence to convict you? And she read it, and she's like, I like that. So, yeah, and we're kind of passing in the bathroom hallway, so it wasn't where we were going to stop and have a conversation in the bathroom.
I told you before that that was one of the most, I think, convicting things I ever heard a pastor say when I was at a conference one time. We were talking about being people, not prejudiced, but people persecuting you, like for your beliefs. And they said, is your Christian walk even to the extent, is it enough for you to even face persecution? Like, does anyone even... Would you even be worth the time to persecute? That's exactly right. Oh. So I think sometimes I am, and I think sometimes I'm not. And that's my battle that I deal with all the time. It's like I want so much out of people, and I want people to, I don't know, I just want to see the fire in people. But then the moments when I don't have the fire, I don't see anything wrong with it.
They want to see it in you.
They want to, yeah.
So that just means we're all in the same boat.
I know. And isn't that so crazy that we're just in this journey of what we want to do is share the gospel, that no doubt. But in the midst of, I want to live for God, I want to share the gospel, I want to do that, it's so much frustration, and I think sometimes it's frustration with yourself for not doing all that maybe you feel like God is telling you to do or has led you to do. And then sometimes it's just a frustration with people. And like you say, when it boils down to it, we're all just the same. We're just trying to make it. Like all those people at Disney were all just the same. They were just trying to have a good time with their family, make memories that will last. But in the midst of the happiness, Disney, they say it's the happiest place on the earth, the happiest place, whatever.
Yeah.
Dude, I saw dads going off on kids. I saw moms and dads not talking.
Because they're still the same people if they were here as if they're down there.
Just wearing Mickey
It's
ears.
like the place might be happy, but what about the people coming there?
Man, one night we were at a fireworks show at Magic Kingdom. Now, this is like Magic Kingdom. If you think about Disney, you think about that castle. Cinderella's
Is that
castle.
the castle?
That's the castle.
Now, what's the big golf ball thing?
Oh, that's Epcot.
And now is that down there too?
That two different parks, but
same place.
Same Disney, two different parks. But when you're standing in front of that castle, like that's what you envision as Disney your whole life. I did. I don't know what you did, but you see that castle, you see Mickey and Minnie. They have a fireworks show every night. That's really, really cool. I would love to know the budget of Disney and fireworks because they do an amazing show every night. No, I told my mom when we were there, she went with us. I said, I would love to know their budget, but then I don't want to know their budget because I would feel so bad, like billions of dollars just on fireworks. There was this young lady right behind us that we're at Disney, the happiest place on earth. And the whole time the fireworks show was going, and she's like 26, I'm going to guess. And this guy was with her. She cried the whole time because he had a bad attitude the whole day. Like I'm listening to this over my shoulder. He wasn't happy. He didn't eat lunch. He didn't eat dinner. I mean, it was just all these things.
He must have been on the rag.
Her comment was, "This is all I've wanted to do all day. This is like the most important thing to me, and you've ruined it." And then so she cried and never looked up. Like the whole time, she kept her arms crossed and looked down. And
hey, memories were made.
Memories were made.
She'll never forget that day.
Not good memories, but they were definitely made. And so, I mean, I just thought about that, thinking that's so us. Like, we should be in the moment here, living for God, and all these things happening, and people are living for God, and things are happening. But I get down when they're not happening. I guess in the way I think they should happen. And so I picture myself as that girl just sitting over in the corner crying, like, boo-hoo, woe is me. Everyone's not doing what I want them to do. And then I just have to get back to reality.
And then that's when you look up and look in the mirror and say the same thing.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Because what I ran into years ago, and one of my friends told me this way before I got into the church or the Bible or saved or anything. Apparently I had a habit of getting mad at people, not cussing them out or anything, but just kind of like you just said, because I can do it and they can't. It's like, well, why can't you do this? Why can't you get this? Well, I didn't understand that maybe I could and they couldn't, just like they could do things that I couldn't do. And I think that's what the big deal is, well, I can do it, so why aren't you doing it? I'm here every Sunday, so why aren't you here every Sunday? Or I know all of these scriptures. Why don't you know this many? But like you said, it's different.
Mm-hmm.
We're not robots. We don't come off an assembly line with all the same computer chips and all the same RAM and memory. We're humans.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that we all have in common, other than breathing and blood and we had to eat, is we're all made in the image of God. And I got to talk with somebody the other day, and I don't even remember everything we said. It may have been with Haley. I really can't remember. It's like the thing we all have in common is we're all made in God's image.
Mm-hmm.
I say everything else, we kind of just make it up as we go.
Yeah. And so it was a good reminder to me, just seeing all the different things going on there, and then coming back. It's always hard to come back off vacation. For me, it is. Like
I was kind of ready.
You were ready? See,
about a week, I'm ready to get back after.
See, I don't think I would ever get tired of vacation. Like, everyone's in such a good mood. I mean, your kids are in a good mood.
Yeah, it sounded like everybody was in a good mood down there.
in our group.
My
wife was in a great mood. My kids were having a great time. My mom got to go with us. She was having a blast. And then I didn't have to be in charge of anything. I think that's what I like too. I mean, just being honest. I'm not a person that thrives off of being in charge. I like for people to tell me, go do that, and I'll go do it to the best. I'll do it A+. I don't like to be the person saying, go do that. That's not how God designed me. And so when I'm at Disney, Heather plans the whole thing. All I got to do is show up. She says, we get up at this time, we go here at this time, we eat at this. I love it. And so it's really hard to come back, because as soon as I walk back in these doors, I got to start making decisions.
Do you call Heather? What do I do? Text her. I need help.
When it comes to Mount Zion Baptist Church, my wife lets me handle that. She doesn't she tries to stay.
She's away. Out, huh?
Yeah. She'll pray for me, but she's not trying to be in any kind of decision making stuff. So it's all good. But we had a great time. Do you guys have a good time at the river?
Yeah, we were in the mountains. No,
it's nice.
We were in the mountains. We got up there on a Friday, and I really was looking for the hybrid thing. I was really looking forward to that. And we got there and we got unpacked. The trip wasn't too bad. We got unpacked, and we were not really in a hurry, but when we started unpacking, we just stayed with it. Got all the food in and did all. Haley usually handles all the clothes. I just help get everything into the house, and she takes care of it from there. And that's when we found out the internet's out. It's like, well, there goes that plan for today. Mm-hmm. And literally, we're standing on the porch, and right across the road was the Hiwassee River. Mm. It was great. We were down in the valley, and the road we're on is basically a dead-end road. So it's almost just like a little private road. It was one lane, and there may have been 10 houses down in there. Super quiet. We saw one deer, a bunch of Canadian geese, which we see them everywhere.
Those are the ones all around here, right?
Yeah, the brown ones, yeah. And so we got unpacked, and we walked down, and we're literally, the house is cut into a mountain, because it's all mountains up there. And we walked down the steps and went across the one-lane road, and there was a path, and there was a little fire pit out there right beside the river. And we walked out there, and we're looking at it, and there were steps down into the water. And we were in one house, and then there was another house over on the left, and it's kind of a flat area out there, and there's a little yard out there. You can go out there and play with the kids or whatever. Well, lady come out, and she's an older lady, she's retired. Well, she come out, well, it was her house. And so she owned that house and the one we were renting. Her name's Mary Ann. We got to know her. Seemed like you don't know anybody's name. When you were down there at Disney World, thousands of people. You didn't get one name.
Not one.
She come out and was talking, and she was telling us that, she's sorry that the internet was out. And it's like, I don't really care. Mm-hmm. Mainly wanted it for the video we were going to do, and then the TV for Levi. Mm-hmm. And come to find out, they were releasing water that day. So the river, I had my waders on, and I'm like, well, let me get out there and check it out. And had some current, and it was cold. That water was cold.
Yeah.
And Levi stepped off in it. He goes, oh, that's cold. I was like, if a 5-year-old said the water's cold, it's cold.
Yeah, they're pretty tough.
And there was a lot of current. There was no way you could wade it. You couldn't fish it. And that's when she told us that they're releasing water. So I looked on the map. This is just what I do. I got on the map and looked. I looked upstream, and the other lake that was upstream from us was Lake Chattooga, which I think Chattooga is actually in North Carolina and Georgia, kind of way over in the corner. I guess that would be the northeast corner. And it's all TVA, which is Tennessee Valley Authority. They have all the lakes up there. They made all the lakes. So when they're releasing water, they're running generators. So when they do, it all goes downstream, and it comes past us, goes into Hiwassee Lake, and there's another dam, and then it drains out into the Hiwassee River, and at the end of that, it's about a 20-mile stretch. There's another dam, and right on the other side of the dam is Tennessee. I don't know the name of that dam. These are things I do.
You did pretty good, though, knowing the three you know. Yeah.
Well, the other side of Murphy, we were up there last year. My friend let us stay in his house up there. So that's why we know the other end of Murphy. We were on the opposite end this time. And so I looked up, you can look up the release schedule. So I did. Well, they're going to release water all weekend.
Wow. So no fishing all weekend?
Well, knocks that out for the weekend. So there was other things to do.
Yeah.
So
good.
Just entertained us, walked around. We walked down the road and come back. And Saturday, the grandparents come up.
Okay.
My mom and Mike come up and had some grandparent time. Levi.
I think I saw some pictures.
Yeah, so that was cool because they don't live that far from Murphy. Sunday, we actually rode to Cherokee. And one of my main things why I wanted to go was we made a collage right next to the TV in the living room. They got all them pictures on that board. Well, there's 2 pictures on the board, and it's me. And I was probably about 5 or 6. And I'm standing in the creek in Cherokee.
You're trying to go recreate that picture?
Yeah, so that was my goal. I wanted to go up there, and I didn't want to go on the weekend. I'm like, man, that's 4 hours up there and
Just
4
to
hours
take a
back
picture?
for a picture. I said, but he's 5, so we got to do something. So it worked out good. It was literally like an hour and 9 minutes.
Did you get the picture?
We got the picture.
Nice.
A little different. We had to be on the other side because there was no parking on the side of the main road. And the little waterfall wasn't there, and the little bridge wasn't there anymore. But we did. We got that picture. I was like, who knew 39 years later I would be bringing my son up here, standing in the same creek, running through the same town.
That's really cool.
And I showed it to some friends when I got back. They're like, man, that's like 3 generations. Because Dad and Grandma, they love Cherokee. I have no idea why.
Yeah.
Now, this was before the casino got there.
So it wasn't that.
I mean, yeah, it wasn't the casino. But I guess they just liked it. So we took Levi's picture in there, and
That's a good time.
that was awesome. And then we come back and just hung out, cooked, ate way too much. We grilled out, and we ate and drank and were happy and be merry. For tomorrow we might die.
Tomorrow you might die. Yeah, no doubt.
So
we did.
Monday, woke up and the river was down. So they turned all the generators off. The river was down. You could see a lot more. It was a struggle because there was rocks, and then there were boulders. You step off the backside of that boulder. I mean, I was walking up to here, and it was raining. But it took me literally 30 minutes to walk across the river. Because you had to walk
Back
this
and
way
forth
and that way and go this. Whoa, I can't go that way. Let's back up. Didn't catch no fish.
No fish.
No fish this time. So I did get to go wading. It was nice. We went to the little town of Murphy. I think when we were driving through it, we sneezed and we almost went all the way through it and missed it.
Didn't see it.
It was literally one traffic light.
Wow.
It was awesome. And so then Tuesday, we just slowly packed up and we just made our way back home. So
It's good when God lets you get those times away. It's kind of refresh because I think you've been hitting it pretty hard ever since you've been back.
Oh, it was much
Ripping
needed.
and roaring.
Much needed. And then this past Friday, Haley went back to work Thursday and Friday. I was like, I'm just going to take the rest of the week off because Levi, he was off.
Mm-hmm.
And so Friday, me and him, we went to Arabian Mountain and we hiked up the mountain. And
Oh, that's a lot of fun.
we
Arabian
hiked
Mountain.
up it and come down it. And I told Levi, I said, when I was your age, I played on this mountain. It wasn't a park then. And years ago, it actually used to be called the Davis Reagan Mountain years ago.
Is Arabian Mountain's the one you walk up the really long side, and then if you go to the back side, there's like that water?
Yeah, that's where we
Okay.
walked.
Yeah.
You got the mountain side, and then you have the flat side on the other one. And a lot of the rock that's in Lithonia and in Stone Mountain, all the granite, it came from there. Yeah.
They still have the railroad track running right through there where the little cart used to be, where the workers would come in and out. I don't know if you've ever noticed that before.
Mm-hmm.
Like
there's the old scale house and stuff on the
Mhm.
flat side
Mm-hmm.
of it.
You know where you park by that, I guess I'm going to call it outpost, but they got the place where the little ranger is and all that, where the parking lot is?
There's two of them.
So I guess
There's
it's the
one in
right
a really sharp curve, and there's one in the long straight.
Yeah, so the one right in the sharp curve, if you walk right across the street there's a gate that says do not enter, but if you go right around that gate and walk straight through there, that's where the railroad track is. And I thought that was kind of cool.
That's probably why I'd never seen it, because if it said don't enter.
Oh, yeah, you're a rule follower. I forgot. Get out of here. But if you walk through, then you see where they've cut all that granite. So I like Arabian Mountain.
Yeah. So we used to have firework parties and stuff up there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
As teenagers or as what?
Yeah. Because it wasn't a state park. It was just a free-for-all.
Okay.
But I will have to say that the state taking it over was probably a good thing, because it got to where there was a lot of bad going on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there'd be needles
everywhere,
and it was
can't have
there was
nothing
a lot
nice,
of bad.
man.
And actually, where it's got the crosswalk, where you can walk down either trail. You got the boardwalk on one side or concrete on the other side.
right.
There, where that crosswalk is, right there on both sides, that was the parking lot
Oh, okay.
before it was a state park.
Gotcha.
That was the parking lot there.
Gotcha. So what else happened since we've been college football season started? The first week we were out of town.
Yeah, I didn't notice that.
You haven't been cheering for Alabama? We're 3-0.
Yeah.
Did you watch the Ryder Cup?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what the Ryder Cup is? Oh man, come on, USA baby! You're all about 1776 America.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we crushed Europe last weekend in the Ryder Cup, 19-9. It's a golf tournament, but it's a golf tournament where
I should have known that.
it's a team golf tournament where it's Team USA against Team Europe. So each team has 12 players, and
Did you watch the USA bass fishing thing too?
the USA bass fishing. No, was it on?
Okay.
I don't even know that's a thing, but
See, I didn't know nothing about no Ryder Cup.
I'm always willing to go get behind the USA. I mean, I'm a national guy, man. I'm ready for anytime we can defeat Europe in anything. I'm down with it.
We've done it several times.
Yes, we have. So that was really cool. So I haven't played golf or even touched a golf club in about 10 days, man. So that's been kind of stressful for me. I need
You look like a little tense over there.
Yeah, man, my
you okay?
muscles are ready to get back out on the course. I was just honing it in, man. And
well, you got some practice golf balls.
yeah, you did give me those. Thank you for that.
How many do you think it was? About 30?
About 30. Yeah,
30
I think we might have talked about that last time on the podcast and said next time you're in the river by that golf course, grab some of those golf balls. And so
Well, I did.
you did. When I walked into my office on Monday morning, I had golf balls and I had Halloween candy, all from you guys. So you made my Monday good because it was starting out bad and went down from there. But Tuesday was today Tuesday or Wednesday? It's Wednesday. So Tuesday was good, real good day. And then today Sean walked in and said, "You're in a great mind space today, better than you were on Monday." I said, "You think?" So coming back from, I said this already, but coming back from vacation is hard for me. But I'm back in the groove now, and what did it say? Keep going. Keep going. Chase after
I keep
the prize.
going toward the prize ahead of me. Forget what's behind.
That's exactly the scripture I'm using on Sunday for one of my points. For forgetting what's behind,
See,
I
if
press
we ever
on
go
to
virtual,
what is
we
ahead.
need to tag team on some of them Sundays.
Yeah,
Might help you.
we should. We'll set that up. But so I called you earlier, I texted you earlier and said, hey, let's jump back into the book of John, because we did it for a long time. We got 13 sessions out of the book of John, and we only made it through chapter 5. And so we jump into John in chapter 6, because, I mean, we could sit here and talk about anything all day, and we usually do okay with picking things, but I thought tonight we should just have a direction. So we'll jump into John, and chapter 6 takes us right to Jesus feeding the 5,000.
Mm-hmm.
And you asked me before we started, well, what's your point? What's the direction we're going here? And I think it's always personal to me, like, when I'm trying to figure out what to talk about, what am I experiencing? What's my walk like? What am I going through, and how does this relate to it? And that's what I thought about in this part. Everyone knows about Jesus feeding the 5,000.
We'll say a lot of people know.
Most people.
Yeah.
A lot of people. I like the way you say that. Know about it, but Jesus takes what looks undoable, looks like it's not likely to happen. Something that people are looking around going, with this little bit, we can't do what you're asking us to do. And Jesus shows them it's more than enough if they'll just have faith.
It's like, well, it's probably a good thing you see it that way. Let me show you what God can do.
Yeah, and so that's how I related it back to me, because
lay your power down and your thoughts and your intelligence. Put it over there and let me show you something.
Mm-hmm. So I'll read it. John chapter 6. I don't think we have to read the whole thing, but
Get the high points of it.
It says, sometime after this, and it was Jesus, we just talked about in chapter 5, the last time we talked, I looked at it. Jesus was saying, I don't do anything on my own authority. And everything I do is coming from my Father, and nothing I do is on my own. Everything I do is instructed by Him. So that's what it's coming off of. And Jesus says, sometime after this, Jesus crossed to the far shore of the Sea of Galilee, and a great crowd followed Him because they saw the signs that He had performed by healing the sick. And then Jesus went up on a mountainside, and He sat down with His disciples because the Jewish Passover festival was near. And when He looked up, it says He saw a crowd coming towards Him, and He said to Philip, where shall we buy bread and to feed these people, for them to eat? And He asked this only to test Philip, it says, for He already knew what He was going to do. I thought that was good, too, because it's like when you know something and you're trying to teach your kid or trying to teach someone, you may ask them a question.
You already got the answer.
And you already know the answer.
And a lot of theologians call Philip the analytic, because he's always analyzing stuff.
Yeah. So Jesus looks at him and says, what are we going to do, Philip? All these people are coming over here. What do you got in mind to feed them? And Philip answered him and says, it's going to take more than a half year's wages to buy enough bread for each one to have a bite. And another one of his disciples comes over, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother. He said, here's a boy, and he has 5 small barley loaves and 2 small fish. Mm-hmm. But how far will this go?
And when we went over John 6 a few weeks back in class, I was like, so there was let's say they're estimating between 10 and 15,000 people. Mm-hmm. They said there was 5,000 men, and they add in the women and the kids. So 10, 15,000 people. I said let's just say 12,000 people there. There was one person with food. Just one kid.
Just one little kid.
With some, and he was probably a shepherd out there tending to his flocks, and he was the only one there with anything to eat.
Yeah, that is interesting.
I wonder if Jesus did that on purpose to lead all these people out there.
Yes, that is 2 things you pointed out to me in this 6th chapter that I have never paid attention to before. That, and what was the other one you said a minute ago? It was towards the end.
Oh, about where he was like a morbid.
Where he got real morbid on him. But so
it was a foreshadowing to the communion.
That's right.
Yeah.
So there was just one No, it was the one where it says he got in the boat, and then the
Oh,
boat
yeah, and it hit the shore,
reached
yeah.
the shore.
Well, there was 3 of them then.
I had never paid attention to that before. It's like Jesus gets in the boat, and the boat immediately
Yeah,
touches
it's
the
like
shore.
as soon as he stepped in there, oh, we're here. It's like, why don't you just walk around the boat? Walk on shore.
We got to look that up. There's got to be a reason why. Like, it's got to teach us something about him. I mean, completing the task with us all the way to the. I don't know. There's something in there. But it says there was this boy, like you said, one boy, all these people. Only one that's got food, 5 barley loaves and 2 small fish, and he says, "Well, how far is this going to go?" And Jesus said, "Have them sit down." And it says there was plenty of grass there, so all the people sit down. And that's where you said about 5,000 men were there, so 10, 12,000 people, just counting wives and kids. So that Jesus took the loaves, he gave thanks, and he distributed to those who were seated as much as they wanted, and he did the same with the fish. And then it goes on to say, when they had all had enough to eat, he said to his disciples, "Gather the pieces that are left over, and let nothing be wasted." And so they gathered them and filled 12 baskets with the pieces of the 5 barley loaves left over by those who had eaten. And after the people saw these signs Jesus performed, they began to say, "Surely this is the prophet who has come into the world." And Jesus, knowing that they intended to come and make him king by force, withdrew again into a mountain by himself.
Headed to the woods.
Yeah, all these times we see in Scripture that when Jesus does something awesome, he always turns and runs to the. Well, run sounds like he was fearful, but he turns and goes away.
Yeah,
like
he'll hide himself, or he'll go through the crowd and nobody. Was
I think Jesus's main thing here was like, you people want to make me king, but I have like this bigger calling. God is going to make me king, and so I'm not going to let you esteem me and lift me up to this place that you want to put me at when God has a bigger plan for me. I guess what
I'm kind of curious now that you said that, because Jesus was born to die.
Right.
Out of all the humans that ever lived, he was the only one that knew exactly when he was going to die, how he was going to die. Because later on in John, we went over this again. I think we're up into 16 now. His brother said, "Why don't you show yourself to the world? And anybody who wants to lead needs to show themselves to the world." And Jesus said, "Any time will do for you." He said, "But my time's not come." And he said it several times. He's like, "I have a divine appointment with death." Death is always waiting for you, because we never know when we're going to die. He did. And I don't even know where I was going with that, but I'm curious. Okay, I got it now. If there was nobody on earth to die for, and God said, "Go down there and die," if he would still do it. But his main purpose for dying was for us. To build that bridge between God and humanity again.
Interesting thought. I think it doesn't matter if there was no people or 1 billion people. Jesus would have did it just because
God said to.
God said to.
Yeah.
And that seems to be his...
Because Paul said he was obedient, even obedient to death.
To the point of death. I think that's it. I mean, Jesus, it doesn't matter the circumstances around whatever he does.
So another example, it says, if God says do it, do it.
That's one thing to say that. It's another thing.
It's completely different, depending on what he's asking you to do.
No
Let's
doubt.
say that, because there could be some things that he'll ask you to do. So, oh yeah, I'm all over it. You could already be doing it and not realize it until he says, "This is what I want you to do."
Yeah.
Then there's other times he goes, "Well, I need you to travel to Europe, and evangelize over there." So, I don't know.
Need you to take a vacation to Disney and find someone to share the gospel with.
One person in thousands.
One person.
You had to turn around and handed that girl the
have a
paper
conversation
says,
with one
"Pray."
person. I didn't do it. I didn't find one person to do it. But, me and God have already had that conversation, and I said in my sermon notes that I was...
He's probably saying, "I'll never send you back to
Disney.
Disney."
You're never going back to Disney. You do your worst pastoring when you're at Disney. I wrote in my sermon notes that there were moments when I was just either by the pool or we were just driving. I drove both ways, so that's about a 12-hour, 6 hours both ways, and so just had quiet time, like just riding with God. Like God show me like what I'm supposed to be doing. God show me what Mount Zion is supposed to be focused on. Like, are we focusing on things that you don't even think are important, and we made them important? So I did have those moments. The evangelizing side of it probably wasn't all that it could have been. It was non-existent. But the seeking and searching, seek the kingdom of God, and all these things will be added. I mean, I spent a lot of time doing that, because you can do that with your family around, and you're just in a quiet moment. You can do that. You don't have to have like a specific place or whatever set up. So I had those moments, but this is interesting in this story here to me, that his followers, even back in this day, and these guys had just got through witnessing him turn water into wine. So the beginning of John is all about before the creation of everything was Jesus. He was. I
forgot
God.
what miracle. Well, they call them miracles. The feeding of maybe 6, maybe miracle number 6.
This is about 6, I think.
Because he's called his disciples. He did the water into wine. He clears the temple courts. He teaches Nicodemus, the teacher at the University of Theologians. He teaches him something. I mean, now you got to think Jesus is, he's between 30 and 33.
Right.
And Nicodemus is probably 50, 60 years old, somewhere in there. And Nicodemus is going to this kid to get advice.
Yeah.
So he's doing that, and then John the Baptist is testifying about him. Jesus talks with the scum of the earth, which is the Samaritans, and she's a woman.
He doubled up on that one,
Yeah, doubled up on that one. Then his disciples show back up. People in Samaria believe, a Jew, which they didn't talk, and then healing the crippled guy at the pool, then the authority of the Son. So Jesus has the authority, and then Jesus, after that, says, I don't do anything on my own. I don't speak on my own. And he's got all authority already. And now we're feeding all these people. Again, 12,000 people, only one person brought something to eat.
They were all just so overwhelmed.
So that's probably a good thing they found the smart person that brought the food.
Isn't it interesting that it was a kid?
And a kid.
There's something to say about that kids have wisdom sometimes that we should probably listen to. But Jesus did all this. They've seen him do all these things, so it says they followed him to this place. And then Jesus always sees the opportunity. I guess that's why I was thinking about being at Disney and sharing the gospel, or not even trying to share the gospel, but just finding someone to have a conversation with. If it presented itself. A lot of times
you can share it just by living your life.
Right. And you know, honestly, for me, that's the easy one. We try to live right in front of people and around people and treat them with respect. And I didn't have any, remember the story I told you about being in Chili's and the waitress was doing her thing and I got a little attitude one day. I treated every waiter and every person that worked at Disney with the utmost respect. When we first walked into Animal Kingdom, I looked at Heather and I was like, what's wrong with these people that work here? They were all just cranky. I'm like, they work at the happiest place in the world.
That's the key. Work.
They work. It doesn't matter where work is. It could, even if it's at Magic Kingdom, you could still be upset. But Jesus always sees these opportunities, and so he saw these people, knew what he had been doing, how he had been doing it, and that it was obviously only from God that he was able to do this. And so they said, surely this is the prophet who's come into the world. And Jesus is, and so he continues to. Later on in here, I don't think we'll get to it today, but he walks on the water, and he talks about being the bread of life, and people eating his skin,
and then it gets kind of a little bit morbid,
and stuff like that. So it was encouraging to me because I think the Christian life, it keeps showing itself to me as being so interesting that I keep waiting for us to turn this corner and actually, I don't know, either come together as a group or come together as just a selective few. But there's got to be some kind of movement of God where people are like progressing in the direction of God. And I think we are. And I don't know why, for some reason, it seems like it doesn't progress always like quick enough for me. Like I want it to be more, or I want it to be faster, or I want it to be have more of an
Jesus talks about that too.
Yeah.
Everything has a season.
Yes, he does. So, are you saying that
You'd
that's my
be
problem?
a terrible farmer.
Oh, I would be a terrible farmer. I have no patience for stuff like that. I would agree with that. But I can't do anything about that. It's
But
too-
again, it takes time to learn it. You have to have patience,
you really do.
and you can go back and all through the Bible that Abram and Sarah got ahead of God's plan, and that didn't turn out good.
Mm-hmm.
And so they had an illegitimate child, which God still took care of Ishmael. And then Moses got a little impatient and said a few things he shouldn't have. Well, it cost him his trip into the kingdom,
Mm-hmm.
or the promised land, not the kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think Joshua was pretty spot on. I think he followed
Yeah.
God. David, he went a little bit sideways there for a minute. And I mean, just on, and just, you know, it's a disease, and it's called sin, and we have it. It's like, why wait? Do it now.
And I think that's part of what adds into my misunderstanding of how things are supposed to happen, because
Because keep in mind, if you get 3,000 people in one day, you get all the person,
you get 3,000
all
people's
3,000,
stuff.
all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And
so-
you don't like to talk to people now. Imagine if you had 4,000 people in your congregation. Because
I don't
being
know.
the pastor, you're seen as the head of the church.
Yeah. And that I embrace that, and I'm so thankful that God even considers me the least
So
bit
he
worthy
might
to
be
have that
training you
position.
right now.
But that's part of what I wouldn't say struggle with, but that's part of my growth right now is thinking about that and knowing yourself as just like a regular person. Like, I know that talking to people is not something I thoroughly enjoy, but I do like people, and I do want people to know that God loves them, and like.
Well, you have to tell them that, sir.
No, I don't mind telling them that. I don't want to know how their Monday through Friday was. Like, I don't want all the Monday.
That's not part of the deal.
I know that, and that's part of the sign you gave me before you called me is this textable, because I'm all about communication. Of, be here at this time. How are you doing? I'm good. Blah blah blah.
You like to communicate
like the
with
mundane
your thumbs.
Like, I don't just like the conversations that go on.
That's why you don't have conversations. You don't get to know people.
I don't very often. That's a true statement. That's a true statement. I know a lot of people surface level. There are very few people. I think you, a couple other people at church that I know on a deeper level. And that's honestly probably because you guys are more get to know people on a deeper level.
Hmm.
And so you,
So it's our doing and not
I won't
yours.
say you forced me into it, but you nudged me into it. And I'm thankful that God put people like you in my life to get me to that point, because it's not a natural thing for me to want to. I laugh all the time because Sean, we work together, and I'll tell her, oh, this person told me about this, and we're talking about that, and this is going on. And she'll say, well, what? She'll ask for like more details in the story, and I'm like, I don't know. I didn't ask. Like, I didn't need to know that. It was just like, I knew what they told me. And she's like, you guys are so funny. Like, guys are just so not worried about the details and what the next thing is. And I guess that's just how I'm wired, and I think that's why God put people like you around me, and Haley and Sean, and people that like to know all the details.
Confession, I used to be so antisocial.
Yeah.
It was.
And I think I'm antisocial because I get frustrated with people that are all about themselves, and it rubs me the wrong way, and I just don't want
to add to yours, wanting to see things progress, and not saying it's self-centered, but there could be a little selfishness in it. So what I've been doing my work for several years now, and there will be times when I would be taking care of, say, like Mount Zion's fleet, and I'd be taking care of their equipment for 5 or 6 years. Well, then they go and hire somebody to take care of all of it. Just hire them as their mechanic. And I was like, why didn't they even offer that to me? And then there would be I mean, it's happened several times. I was like, they didn't even ask me. You know, it's like, well, y'all suck. You know, I probably wouldn't have took it, but it was never offered.
Just like to be asked.
Well, come to find out, every one of them, maybe except for one, they're not around anymore. It's not as glamorous as I thought it would be, or I was seeing it. Like it will be a glorious thing if 3,000 people showed up Sunday and every one of them got salvation. That would be great. But it's not as glorious as we would think it's going to be. God knows how everything is going to work out. Just like when I saw that and everybody was getting offered all these jobs and I wouldn't get even a pat on the back. But it all fell apart. Mm-hmm. It's like, that's why you weren't asked. Because if you would have taken, now I was close to taking one, and it didn't pan out, and we got in an argument, and they thought they were the greatest thing that ever hit Atlanta, and I was like, no. And I told them, I said, if you want perfect, I said there was one perfect, and he ain't here no more. Mm-hmm. So y'all gonna have to hit the road, because I'm not coming with y'all. And they're not good people. So I was the same way for a while, and I'm like, I just need to stay where I'm at until God tells me to go do something else. I'm just going to stay right here.
Mm-hmm. And so I feel like I say it a lot, and I feel like it's on repeat in my conversations with other people and stuff. But sticking to the course, steadfastness, endurance is such a huge part of this Christian walk. And I knew that already, but I think I'm realizing it even more, that it's the small victories that I need to count as bigger victories, because it always sounds like, I feel like I always come across this negative, that I wish more was happening. I wish I was doing more. I wish my walk was closer. I wish that I was just able to have a way to communicate what I feel and what I know about God in a way that would impact people. And to a certain extent, I do. Mm-hmm. I want it to be more. I think every pastor wants it to be more. But there are people that embrace the gospel because you share it with them. There are people that serve at Mount Zion because we ask them to. There are people that are committed every week to doing things. And so I'm trying to learn to be more in tune with that and know that it's going on and just take it step by step daily. And all I can do and all you can do is just continue to every day. It's that by progressive sanctification.
By continuing use, you'll grow.
Right.
Continuous. Yeah, something I can't remember the verse exactly, but you do this every day.
Yeah, you just keep going, and one day God may feed 5,000 people. God may do some miracle in front of us, and other people say, "Oh, wow, this guy got what they're talking about is the truth, and what they're talking about is that." And in the meantime, you just got to keep marching forward. You got to keep going. I was talking to you about this Esther verse earlier, where I'm preaching on Esther this weekend, so that's what is on my mind. But her uncle Mordecai told her, look, don't think just because you're in the kingdom that you're going to be safe from this mandate that's went out to kill all the Jews.
Genocide.
Said either they're going to be rescued by you stepping up, or or someone else. It just depends on, are you going to be quiet and be silent and not do anything, or are you going to speak up? And I think that correlates to us a lot here. Are we going to continue to live the life and persevere and keep going, or we're going to let someone else do it? Because like we said a couple of weeks back, it's going to happen. Like God's word says it's going to happen.
And speaking of that, go ahead and finish.
Well, God's word says it goes out and it does not return void. Just because it doesn't go out and return in my timing or your timing or whatever we think it should happen, it is going to happen. Mm-hmm. And so I want to continue to challenge people and ask people to join in the fight, because it's going to happen. We know that in the end, God wins. Either we're on the team or we're not on the team, but he's asking us all to be in the starting lineup. Like he has positions for all of us to be in. He has fishing poles and bait for every one of us. Mm-hmm. Are we going to fish, or are we going to sit back and wait for the next guy to do it? Because God's going to do it. He's going to allow the harvest to happen. He's going to allow the catch to come in. The nets are going to be so full of fish that they're bursting at the bottom, Either we're in or we're out.
Yeah, I think there was a song. It's like, sometimes I get mad at God and I shake my fist up at the air at him. It's like, God, why don't you do something? And the verse is like he says, I did. I made you. And that's the song. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Something to add to that was in John 15. Because one of the guys had a good question. And when I read over 15, and until you break it down and read it, you really, like we were talking about in the boat hitting the shore, and you know, one kid had all them people. You really just kind of read it as a story, and then you just move on. And this is John 15. It's the vine and the branches. 15:5 it says, I am the vine, you are the branches. You remain in me, and I in you. You will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. If you do not remain in me, you are like a branch that is thrown away and withers. Such branches are picked up, thrown into the fire, and burned. And the question was, and it was a really good question because it came from a Christian guy. And he goes, if I'm not doing anything, like talking to people or spreading the gospel, he goes, am I going to get cut off and thrown into the fire? And I never thought of it. I was like, well, let me look at it. I said, because I really don't know. But if we read that at face value, that's what it sounds like. You know, if you're not staying in me, following my word and my rules, and do what I'm telling you to do, you're going to get cut off and tossed in the fire. Well, that's not what it means. I did more research on it, and I read it, and there was other verses, and I don't have my Bible, my teaching Bible. It's at home, but it's basically saying it's saying that you'll be cleansed, not really thrown into the fires of hell, but it does say to be more pure. They'll turn the heat up, so you'll be more pure. So you got to turn the fire up to make more pure gold. You'll be put through the fire, and if what you build survives that fire, then you'll get a reward. So, and then I told him, I'm like, if you just live your life Christian-like, and they never tell anybody, but you live it, and they're going to see that. So you're doing something. Now, your calling may be different, and then I went back to the different calls. You have different talents, different gifts, different pastors and teachers, evangelists. And it says even if you're going to serve, just serve joyfully. So when it says if you do not remain in me, you're basically going to be tossed into the fire and burned. It says if you remain in me and my words in you, ask whatever you wish and it will be done for you. This is to my Father's glory, that you bear much fruit, showing yourselves to be my disciples. So, and I mean, that was really good. You know, I was like, that's a good question. But from my research and what I studied, not my answer, but what I found is you'll just be set to the side, and you'll have to be taught more. So you, instead of eating the meat, you're going to have to be on milk now, and then you'll go up. In fire, in this instance, fire is a cleansing.
Is a refining
agent.
one.
Yeah,
we talked about
you.
a few weeks back about the silversmith, and
when you see yourself
and doing that, and it keeps getting refined.
So that was a really good question. And then under it, another guy had a question. It was kind of comical. It says, if you remain in me and my words in you, ask whatever you want and you'll get it. And they're like, so I'm like, before you say anything, leave money out of it. Now ask your question.
Yeah. And it does say that, and it will be done for you.
It will, and basically what it means, if it's in my will,
right?
Ask whatever you want, and you'll get it. And a lot of people misunderstand that. It's like, and the first thing they're going to ask, oh, I wish I had a lot of money in my bank account.
More
and
money,
it never
more problems.
happens.
That's what I always heard.
So to add, that, I mean, I thought that was a really good question that guy asked, and I really liked it. And I'm also glad that we've had people that's went before us, and we can go and read their stuff.
Of course.
I thought it was really good. So it's going to get done. He's going to purify you. You're going to get cleaned up.
I feel like that's exactly what God
Maybe
is
you
doing.
need to be tossed over in the fire for a little
Dude,
while.
I think we're in there. I honestly think we're in there. And I don't think we're in there because what you just read said. I love that scripture, by the way, John 15:5. I love it. It was one of the first ones that like I've ever read, and like it stuck to me, and I could like envision it, picture it, and knew what it was talking about. I don't know why. But if you remain in me and I in you, then you can do anything, it says. But anything apart from me, you can do nothing, like absolutely nothing. And so I feel like every week that I'm challenged to where I'm frustrated with, I want to grow more, I want to know more, I feel like that's God refining us. Like he, if I didn't care, then I would be worried. You know what I mean? Like if I didn't have any, and I'll say this sometimes, like I will say sometimes, I don't even care. Like I don't care about that. I'm focused on this. And it sounds like I'm being negative or whatever, but
Probably along the lines, well, I'm not concentrating on that right now.
that's right. Yeah, and it comes across as I don't care, but it's really like that is not my focus right now. My focus now is this. I think we are
My
in that.
focus
And
is
I think
writing back the stupid email I just got.
or just making the mundane decisions about stuff that I really don't. There's some things that I don't embrace in this position, and I have to make decisions on and stuff. And I do it, but I don't really enjoy it. I think my most joy comes from being able to be in front of people and sharing the gospel. I don't care if that's students, kids, older adults. It doesn't matter to me. I just feel at my most comfort and at ease when I'm able to do that. It's all the other stuff that God is refining and teaching me. Like, okay, I feel you. Like you're comfortable in that, but you can't stand up every week and preach. Be strong and courageous. Get out of your comfort zone, and then when I put you out of your comfort zone,
you start kicking your feet.
I'm like the little kid throwing a chant. So
that's when Daddy's yelling.
We're all on this.
You're crying.
Yeah, we're on this journey together. Because I truly believe that Mount Zion can be all that God wants it to be. He's looking for our obedience and our surrender and our faith just to keep going. There are days that are hard, and there are things in front of us that seem like mountains. And the scripture says, if you pray with the faith of a mustard seed, I can move mountains. But the scripture also says that when you pray for it, like believe that I can actually do it.
Though? How much faith is that?
In a mustard seed?
Yeah. I mean, how much?
I mean,
is it literally the dimensions of the mustard seed? I mean, is it the weight of it?
Tree that goes.
I mean, do we even have that much faith?
Sometimes. I think sometimes I do. I think other times I don't, and it's evident.
It's like, I'm looking at the mustard seed, and it's like, I got that faith, and then the wind comes and blows it off. It's like, well, where went my faith?
Guess I didn't have that faith.
I'm out.
We're blessed because even in the midst of all that, God continues to let us experience Him. Like in my doubts or in my frustrations or in my whatever I experience, God is still working and moving, and we can see things happening in people's lives. And so a lot of the times when I'm preaching and teaching or whatever I'm doing, I think I'm talking to myself more than I'm talking to other people, because I'm honestly trying to be all that God has designed me to be. Some days I feel, I won't say unworthy because, Jesus down on the cross made you worthy. I'll say undeserving maybe. Like I don't deserve some of the perks I get, some of the privilege I get, some of the recognition I get. I don't deserve it because I know me. But in the midst of all that, I think God sees my heart. He sees the surrender. He sees that what I really want out of the whole thing is not for me to be known or famous or ever. I don't care who knows me. But if people will find out that God loves them and they can stop feeling the shame, they can stop feeling the guilt, they can progress in their life, they can break what do they call it, like family curses, where like for years and years and years they've been this, and now you can be the one to change the direction of your family. That's what I want.
The bloodline.
Yeah,
that's something that I heard years ago, and I'm like, I'm gonna give it a shot.
Mm-hmm. And you spoke on that a couple of weeks back, yeah.
Yeah, and it's worked.
Yeah,
it's worked.
And so we have the power to do that through Christ, to change the direction of our genealogy. Like we can change it.
I'm with you. I'm like, well, why has God put me here? Why is He giving me what He's given?
Mm-hmm.
I say give or bless me with.
Right.
It's like, because He is right. I mean, the more you study this, the more scoundrel you are, and but then also the grace that he gives you. And then if you always just focus on that, I'm undeserving, it's true, but you also do deserve it because we were created in his image.
Mm-hmm.
So we're reflecting of him. And I think a lot of people just get so hung up on, just one thing, like Mount Zion this. So it's like, well, let's say all the churches,
Yeah.
all the believers, kind of a corporate deal, because eventually we're all going to be up there together that
Mm-hmm.
believe. It's not going to be, okay, well, that group's here, this street's for this people, that street. No, it's all together.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and Paul says, let us approach the throne boldly. It's like I'm bold in declaring God. And I'll ride around all day. It's like, well, Romans 9, 10:9 on back of my truck. And texted the other day, it's like, and it was Romans 10:9. If you confess it, and I texted the guy, the big group text we still have going on. It's like, will you declare it
Mm-hmm.
openly, publicly, in the middle of Disneyland, in the middle of a studio with 2,500 people running around you? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I will.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not saying that I'm going to stand up and I'm big and bold, or, I'm just doing it to be loud and proud. It's like, no, it's for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like when I used to do the devotional videos, Sean said, man, I like them. I'm like, they're for you. I've got it. I know it.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's for everybody else.
Right.
So I think we kind of need to get our focus on the lost ones.
Yeah.
Like you said in a sermon a few weeks back, maybe months now, it's like, I'm not concerned about y'all. Y'all are here. Y'all either understand it or you have it or both. I'm concerned about out there.
Mm-hmm. And how do we get out there?
Yeah.
How do we take what we know to them?
And some people, they just get so wrapped up about what's here.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, here is God. He needs to be out here.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm kind of like with you. I don't know how to set up no community events or. Now I can support it, like when we did the fire and the movie.
Right.
Okay, I'll take care of that. That's what you want. Okay, we'll do that. But I don't know how to get people here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to wave banners or nothing like that. I'm
Oh,
with
yeah.
you on it. But when it comes to talking to them, I'll talk to you.
And that's why it takes a village, right? It takes everybody, because there's somebody that enjoys doing that. There's somebody that enjoys making the signage, that enjoys getting the people here, and then give you and I the platform. And so that is it. That's like the crux of everything that's going on in my Christian walk right now is the endurance part. Just keep going and trusting that God.
You're in the lull right now.
I know, but I keep saying that, and then the lull just keeps seeming like it keeps stretching out.
Let me give you some hope. You're not down there alone, sir.
I'm not. I'm really not. Because when it boils down to is that compared to 90% of the world, we're living blessed lives, no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we just came back from Disney. You just came back from the river, chilling, just hanging out. You brought me golf balls that I can go do a fun thing that I like to do. And so
there'll be more.
When it boils down to it, like, I really have not many complaints. I guess it's good that if my worst complaint is, I just wish people knew Jesus more, and I wish that they would just grasp it more. That's a good problem to have, I guess, and not focused on the wrong things. But I'm learning just to keep going and to keep focused on Him.
One thing I would like, if God would ever bless me with it, is a lot of times how I read something. Let's say, for instance, N.T. Wright.
Mm-hmm.
He's a great theologian. He does the Word of the Day on
Mm-hmm.
YouVersion sometime. If I'm reading something of his, I envision and hear him reading it to me because I've heard him.
Mm-hmm.
I know his voice. I know his tone, like Dr. Charles Stanley.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm reading something from him, I know what he sounds like. I know his tone. What I would like, if God would ever give me that opportunity, I would like to hear Paul.
Mm.
How he sounded. What was his attitude? Was he forceful? Was he laid back? Because he'd even say, should I come with a rod of discipline or should I come in love? It's like, okay, I said, I understand it, and I've heard people read it and, interpret it, and words of the day, anything that Paul wrote. I said, but I would like to hear him.
Mm-hmm.
What did he sound like? What was his attitude? What was his tone? Of course, in English, so I can understand it, because I don't know Aramaic or Hebrew. And then when I read what he was inspired to write,
Mm-hmm.
then I could just, like, if you were to write something, I could picture it, because I've heard you. I know your attitude and your tone. I can read it. That's just something it's always
cool.
just one of my things.
I would
one
love
of my
to know
things.
what Paul sounded like.
I guess I can help understand it better.
He had to have a way of talking that inspired people. There's no way.
He was a highly intelligent guy.
It had
no doubt.
I mean, if you can stand in Rome and
in the Areopagus, where all the great minds met, and all they did was sit around
brainiacs in there and
talk.
And he could step up and just explain what he knew. I think I heard someone or read something yesterday that said, I trust that you know what you're talking about if you can explain it back to me, like what you do. Like, I think if I ask you, how do I install a water pump, you could tell me how to do it, and I'd be like, oh, okay. He really knows what he's talking about. And so I think Paul's the same way, but with spiritual things. He can explain them in such a way that
And one thing I really like, is just being honest and truthful, and especially when it comes to the gospel, because I've run into this just a handful of times. I'll start talking to somebody, have that conversation just comes up, and I'm talking to them, and we're going through this, and that door's open. Well, the work's put on hold, and we're talking about this. And for them, and then they'll turn around and tell me at the end of our conversation that their mother is deeply religious, and they know this, and they know all the Bible. So everything that I told them, they already knew it, but I didn't know that. And it's just that honesty and that truth in it. And it's like, now you have that connection, and they'll trust you to do stuff. And I was like, it's great just how he works.
Yeah.
Because his word never changes.
Right.
It's always the same. And you can go on any continent in the world, any piece of land, and this is a universal language. We may not speak, Indonesian or anything like that, but if we take this word here is going to be the same over there.
Right. And so we just got to keep the course. Stay the course. Keep going.
Stay the course. Whether you're down here or up here. Stay the course.
That's right. So I'm going to keep the course. I'm thankful. I'll say this before we get off. I have friends that will listen to me gripe and complain, and I'm very thankful for them. You know who you are.
Are they showing up?
They're showing up. Yeah, they're actually here. Appreciate them. Thank you for being here. But they'll listen to me, and they'll talk through, hear my all complaints, and then still love me on the other side of it. So I'm grateful that God put those people around me. And so we have the same calling. Stay surrendered, stay obedient, stay to the call of living a life that honors God and respects people and lifts them up above us. And then just sit back and trust that God is going to do what he said. And he showed up with these guys, and they said, Jesus, how are we going to feed these 5,000 people? We don't have anything. And he said, you're right.
Hold my robe and watch this.
Yeah, hold my robe. Change that saying that's going around now. But we're looking at him saying, Jesus, how do we reach all these people that are so lost, that are so this, that are so that? We only have this little bit. And he's saying exactly what you said here. Hold my robe and watch this. And so you just stay faithful in the meantime. So I'm going to keep the course. If I ever get off track, Mike, and you think that I'm jumping off the course, just smack me back on the course. There are days where I feel like jumping off the course.
Same to you, sir.
But
it don't take much to get me off.
It's worth it. And I know that Mount Zion has a bright future in front of them. And I just pray that and hope that we can just do it together and keep reaching people and reaching the lost. And so, like, subscribe, share, do all those fun things with this. We appreciate you guys for listening, and we'll be back next week where we're going to introduce you to our new youth directors. You guys know them and have met them, but you'll get to meet them on the podcast next week and kind of hear about their heart for youth ministry and reaching students in our county and in our state with the gospel, and I look forward to that. So thanks for joining us. We'll catch up with you next time.